on digital radio, on the app, on your smart speaker, on Twitter, YouTube, Twitch.tv, and Facebook. The Sportscast. Expect the unexpected.
The update presented by the Sportscast.
Welcome to the Sportscast, February 19th, 2024. If you haven't yet, please subscribe in all our channels, YouTube, Twitch, X, and Apple Podcast. You can also listen to us on your smart speaker. If you're listening on Apple Podcasts or Spotify, please leave a rating and a review. It will help us tremendously. We're also on online radio. And visit our website, thesportscast.net, and also follow us on X and Instagram at the Sportscast1, and check out our app, the Sportscast, in the iOS App Store. It is a Monday update show on the Sportscast. A lot of news going on, not just because of the whole All-Star weekend for the NBA, but a lot going on in other sports and breaking news. And join us. It's been a while since last August. I think since the Gold Cup. We got Hal Phillips. Welcome back to the Sportscast.
Well, thank you, Santi. It's good to be back, and it's a big sports day because finally the NFL is out of the way. There's enough room for everyone else to breathe.
There you go. When the NFL's out of the way, we got Hal back in the Sportscast. Hal, tell us about your off time this past 6 months.
Oh, I'm living the life. My first book, Generation Zero, is still selling, but I sold the next book to a publisher called Roman and Littlefield. We'll be examining the rivalry between the U.S. men's national soccer team and the Mexican national soccer team, El Tri. And when I talk about the rivalry, I mean all the politics, culture, and socioeconomic baggage that goes along with what I argue is the most interesting, most fraught rivalry in world football.
It is a big rivalry. I experienced it, the 2-0 in Columbus. And of course, there was a bit of a moment, Hal, where I think the U.S. had a winning streak against Mexico.
What do you mean? We're 8? Okay, let me put it this way. Since 2002, I believe El Tri is 8-19-8 against the U.S. national team.
How about that?
So
we've caught up in football, haven't we?
Well, we have, but I think part of what makes it interesting is that the Mexican national team will not acknowledge the fact.
They'll never will. They never will.
And you know what?
And now you're seeing, you know what I'm seeing lately? Liga MX and MLS rivalry.
Yeah, but I think they're playing that one much smarter because the League's Cup, I think, is a great event. And Liga MX understands that if they want to expand into the North American marketplace, this is the way to do it. But that's what's so interesting about it. It's really a codependent relationship, the U.S.-Mexico soccer relationship, because an MLS game, before they put all the games on Apple, the best ratings they would get for an MLS match were on Univision. I mean, more people are watching soccer on Univision than on ESPN. Of course, they know that when you have a Mexican national team game anywhere in the United States, there's going to be 60-70% Mexicans in that crowd. We know that. But how many are in just a regular MLS crowd? A lot. I mean, I think Mexicans are key to the rebirth, or actually, the growth of soccer in America. Huge component.
Yeah, they definitely have one of the top ratings for Liga MX in the U.S. television market. Premier League actually beat them out recently, I heard, but we could talk about that later. Let's go into the NBA this morning. Breaking news: the Brooklyn Nets have let go of their head coach, Jacques Vaughn. He took over the Nets back in early 22-23 season after the team parted ways with Steve Nash. So he's a post-Steve Nash coach. The interim tag was removed from him, and he was named full-time head coach before the season. But after a 21-33 start, at the All-Star break, the Nets decided to make a change. Your thoughts?
Well, I think Jock Vaughn got screwed. He's done a pretty good job considering Ben Simmons has been a big zero. They traded away all the talent, and Mikal Bridges is pretty good. They've actually got some very interesting pieces on that team, and I'm sure that Jock Vaughn is upset that he won't get a chance to coach them. I was watching them just the other night when they play Simmons and Mikal Bridges and Nick Claxton, their young center, 3 outstanding defenders. And you throw some wings next to them like Cam Thomas, some shooters, and that team is probably pretty good. They've just battled injuries like crazy this year, like everyone has, and I think he's very unlucky.
Yeah, and then that's obviously dealing with the post Nash, post Kyrie, post Kevin Durant. So they had to trade a lot of people out. So what they had in their team was not good enough. I remember your team, the Celtics, beat them by a lot a couple of days ago or a week ago. So it wasn't looking good for Jock. So we'll see what the Nets does. They're having an amazing stadium. Obviously, the other team in New York, Knicks, are doing pretty good. So, of course, more pressure on Jock.
Yeah, I just think that they've laid the groundwork for a pretty good roster there. But no one thought that they were going to win 45, 50 games with that roster, especially with someone like Simmons just coming back from an injury. And they had to integrate a lot of guys into that team because they traded away Kyrie and Durant and Harden for so many people. I mean, I don't know who realistically thought that the Nets were going to be any better than 21-33 under, anyone at this stage of the season. It seems like they did get embarrassed, though. They played the Celtics in a back-to-back last week. They put up a good fight in Brooklyn and then lost by 50, and that may have put the nails in the old coffin.
That probably did it. Brooklyn Nets are currently 11th in the Eastern Conference behind Atlanta, so we'll see what happens, who they'll hire, who's available. Maybe that coach from the Bucks might come around. I don't know. There's some coaches available apparently, but
how about Coach Bud Budenholzer, who got screwed out of that job to begin with, and someone's got to hire.
That's true. There's some availability out there, so there's definitely something to look at. Mm-hmm. Let's go into the biggest event of the weekend. The Eastern Conference beat the Western Conference in the NBA All-Star. The score was 211 to 186. It was the highest record scoring ever in an NBA All-Star game. Hal, the Bucks was the East was led by Lillard, who was traded to the Bucks. Now he's representing the East. And your Celtics guy, Jaylen Brown, led the way. Lillard had 39 points and Brown had 36 points. And Lillard was named All-Star Game MVP and had a fantastic weekend. He won the MVP and also won the East, but he also won the 3-point contest. Right. So he had a good weekend. Positive thing for him, maybe for the Bucks as well.
Maybe. I think that's a stretch, though, Santi. They are 3-7 since Doc Rivers took over from Adrian Griffin. I guess it was 10 days ago. It has to be longer than that if they played 10 games. But yeah, well, I guess I'll go back to the beginning. It's interesting to me that they've pushed the All-Star game back to this stage of the season, not because it's the halfway point, but because football is not around anymore on a Sunday afternoon or evening. So they've got the game to themselves, or the TV viewership to themselves. But God, there's got to be a better way to entice basketball fans to watch than having two teams score 400 points in a regulation 48 minutes. I just don't see the attraction to it. I don't know anyone who does, but here we are. I think every sports league struggles with this whole all-star equation. What really is of interest to fans? Not this. The dunk contest, the bloom is off that rose. Although I have to say, I did watch Mac McClung follow up his victory last year with another. He's clearly the most creative dunker that right now, but too bad he doesn't play in the NBA. And the 3-point contest, that can be fun. Congratulations to Lillard to winning that. I don't know. I just can't wait for the NBA season to get back on track and playing real games again, which happens on Thursday. I'm in a Roto League, as we've talked about before, and the week that the NBA is off for the All-Star game, it's like a hole in my soul, Santi. I don't really like the All-Star game because it takes away a week of meaningful basketball games. And That's not good. I mean, it's got to be if you're treating, your fandom with this sort of weird kid gloves. Why do we care about this? I don't.
That's a big question. This year was the first time in-season tournament happened in the NBA, which is equivalent to the FA Cup in England. What are your thoughts over that? I liked it, actually. It was not that bad. Lakers won it. But what are your thoughts? You think it's kind of better than like the All-Star weekend type of thing? Or
I'm glad you brought that up, because I would be much more interested in watching an exhibition like the All-Star game or some kind of exhibition on the Sunday, but then have the in-season tournament finale on that evening. I mean, that I would watch that.
That's not a bad idea, actually. Now thinking about it.
Well, they did it because they wanted to spur interest in the early season, and I think they did that. Yeah, we haven't been on since that was on. I think it was a success. But there's no reason why they couldn't just have that final game, which doesn't even count in the standings, on All-Star weekend. Maybe they will do that. Maybe that's the plan, and they just weren't sure how it would go and didn't want to get to plan on it and plop it right down without, suppose it was a failure. Maybe they would not want to continue the failure into All-Star weekend. But, the NBA has this weird feeling, and I think this is unique among the football, baseball, hockey, major sport, All-Star games. It's really about the player culture. It's a chance for the players to get together and dress up and sort of be stars. And yeah, there's a shooting contest and a dunk contest, and this game where everyone just stands around and dunks it. They just don't want to hurt themselves. I can understand why the players like it. I'm sure they party all weekend in Vegas. That's fun, but I don't understand why I need to care about that. Putting the in-season tournament finale or both games, maybe a Friday, Sunday, 2 semifinals, and then a final on Sunday. That I would watch. Everything else still happens, but not. There's actual games playing for actual stakes. So that's a good call bringing that up. I mean, I'd like to see it.
I should call Adam Silver after the show and tell him about it.
Yeah, I'll call Adam. I got him on speed dial.
Okay. Well, in other festivities, as Hal brought up, Matt McClung, a G League player for the Osceola Magic, won the dunk contest for the second straight year, and Lillard repeated it as a 3-point contest. Steph Curry defeated Sabrina Ionescu in the first NBA versus the WNBA 3-point challenge. So there was more going on. McClung definitely had an amazing dunk. I'm not sure if you saw that, where he was in the air, let the ball go, caught it again, and dunked it. That's Michael Jordan magic a little bit.
Look, he's very creative. I mean, we've talked about this. I think when you have someone in the dunk contest who is 6 feet tall, and this guy is maybe 6'1", that is just more entertaining. I mean, I'm old enough to remember Spud Webb winning the dunk contest. That dude is 5'6". That was truly astonishing. He would do dunks that everyone else did, but because he was so a foot shorter than everyone else, it just had more impact. Now, this guy McClung has another aspect that makes him unique. He's a white guy, and he's got just ridiculous ups. So, I mean, I just don't know what he's doing in the event. If I was Jaylen Brown, I'd be pissed because, if you're bringing guys in from the G League, is he the only one from the G League who would qualify for this tournament? I don't know. But
I think he was the exception.
Yeah, I just can't get worked up about it. When I was 13, I did. I remember it was a big deal when D Brown won the dunk contest. I think that was 91. That was you see that on tape. That was actually sort of fun, but the bloom is off the rose on this. I mean, they had 4 guys in the dunk contest. 4. I mean, there's no interest there from the NBA. Why would I have it? Why would I have interest in something the players don't have interest in?
Yeah, Jag Brown was also in the contest, so that definitely a thing to look out at. But maybe the in-season tournament might be a good replacement. We'll see. I don't have much say in the NBA, as you can tell. But good All-Star, as Hal said, the season resumes this Thursday, and things are going to be getting a little bit hotter because a lot of things going on in the East and the Eastern Conference for the NBA. So we'll see what happens. Let's go into the Champions League. The round of 16 began this past week and was pretty exciting in a way. First game, Man City beat FC Copenhagen 3-1 the first leg of the round of 16. Kevin De Bruyne scored a goal and had 2 assists, while Bernardo Silva and Phil Foden also scored for City. Phil Foden late's goal gives City a 2-goal concussion ahead of the second leg, but this might be a slam dunk for Man City.
Yeah, I don't think anyone expects them to be worried about Copenhagen, although they did tie the game. And I think I watched part of it. I saw the tying goal from a fellow named Matson, whom they had just brought back from Nijmegen in the Dutch Eredivisie. This is Copenhagen now. And the place was rocking for a while. It was 1-1, and then Man City rolled over him. I mean, the setup is good. You know, the first match is at the lower seed. They get the home crowd, and you know, it's closer than maybe the overall tie really is. So 3-1 headed back to Man City, no problem there. Man City had more trouble with Chelsea in the EPL over the weekekend.
Yeah, which we could talk about that a little bit later. Let's go to the other match of the day on that Tuesday. I think it was the 13th. Real Madrid and RB Leipzig. Brahim Diaz scored a solo goal against the run of play. Carvajal passes the ball to Diaz. It was a fantastic goal. Who takes on 3 players before scoring in the top corner. Real Madrid kept it just 1 goal, but Leipzig was able to hold on against Real Madrid.
Yeah, again, it's a great result for Madrid. They're on the road. They get an away goal. They didn't give up any goals, and the only outlier here was Lazio getting a 1-0 victory against Bayern in their opening match. That poises things quite interestingly. Bayern has been terrible. They lost for the 7th time in the Bundesliga over the weekend. They're 8 points behind Bayer Leverkusen, and everyone expects Bayern to just waltz to a Bundesliga title. They're way behind, and now they're staring at having to go back home and score 2 to beat. Where's Lazio in the Serie A? 6th, 7th? That's not even one of the best teams.
Let me look that up. In the first, I don't have it with me, but let me double check on my pop mom. But either way, Bayern is not good.
No.
Head coach Tuchel, I mean, Bayern says he'll be back, but he's on the hot seat, I think.
It's really weird that you're campaigning for other jobs whilst you already have one of arguably the top 3 or 4 jobs in all of world football. It's a little weird. Tuchel is revealing himself to be a little unhinged in this serial sort of job search. But generally, I don't know if you thought so, Santi. I thought the games, the last week's games were okay. The Lazio result was fun, but much more interesting games coming up this week.
They're 8th place in the Serie A. Lazio. So they're not the best team in Italy.
What place? 3rd place?
8th.
Okay, yeah. I thought they were way down there. So yeah, that speaks even less. But I'm looking forward to PSV Dortmund with all the Americans on tap. They have probably 3 Americans in their top 13 or 14. Maybe we'll see Malik Tillman, and of course we'll see Serginho Dest, and Pepe is waiting for De Jong to get hurt. But that's an interesting matchup. And I'd like to see Napoli and Barcelona as well. Barcelona's been terrible. They've given up. I think they gave up more goals in the month of January than any team in the entire Spanish league. So they're not exactly playing their best footing.
No, not at all. Let's go to the other match of that week. PSG beating Real Sociedad 2-0. Mbappe scored first for PSG, taking advantage of a lack of a marker on the corner just before the hour. Bradley Barcola then scored a goal 12 minutes later to put PSG up 2-0. The Mbappe story is going rumored around how that he might be leaving PSG, possibly to Real Madrid. I did hear Liverpool rumors and Arsenal, but I think it's more Real Madrid.
He's going to Madrid, and I'll be interested to see what happens when he does go. The Patrick Ewing theory, which is the pet theory of Bill Simmons, says that once PSG finally gets rid of Mbappe, or I shouldn't say finally, when they lose him, and everything is supposed to go to hell in a handbasket, they'll probably get to a Champions League final only without him. That would make some very poetic sense to me.
That is a Patrick Ewing theory. Quite interesting. You do have PSG beating Real Sociedad in the first round, don't you?
I guess. I mean, neither team is really poised to do anything in this tournament, as far as I can tell. And there's 4 La Liga teams in the final 16. So Sociedad is probably the weakest of them, and it wouldn't surprise me if they went out.
Yeah, quite interesting. Another thing going on this week, before we preview this week's games for the Champions League, MLS comes back. The first match is Inter Miami versus Real Salt Lake this week. And it's going to be quite something for Inter Miami. They are not pressured, but they're expected to win it, I guess you can say. They did not have a good promotional tour. They went over to the Middle East and also Asia. They couldn't face Ronaldo. Apparently he was injured. But what are your expectations for Inter Miami and Lionel? And now they added Luis Suarez to the bunch, but what are your thoughts?
I don't know. They feel sort of stacked, but folks my age are all triggered by signings like Suarez because he's old and clearly past it. So are they loading up on guys who really can't play anymore, and that when they get late into games they either have to come off or they have to hold them, and give them a half an hour at some point? I don't know. Messi is got his own limitations. I don't know. I didn't follow it. I think I'm now wondering whether or not I want to drop my $79 on the MLS package with Apple TV, or should I wait until mid-season like I did last year and just catch up on the for the League's Cup, and get the last half of the season in the playoffs. I don't know. I haven't decided yet, but I don't worry about Inter Miami. They've got plenty of guys, and I hope MLS. I hope they lose more. I want them to be a little more fallible. And I just want their MLS competition to be better, I guess is my gut reaction.
And one thing with their competition, how there will be replacement refs starting off, at least for this week in the MLS. The professional referee organization Pro has announced a lockout of Major League refs as the 2024 season begins,
right?
Following the rejection of a new labor agreement by the Professional Soccer Referees Association.
Right.
That decision makes the replacement refs will officiate matches until further notice. A lot of international refs are coming in. Also, first division college soccer are coming in, referees there. So it's going to be quite interesting. Hopefully this gets resolved sooner than later, right?
Well, I think it's a really interesting development now. And again, just to go back to the top, why is MLS starting now? Because football is over. And so the timing is clear. And there's a lot going on here, and then I'll sort of try to bring it back around. But the Professional Referees, Soccer Referee Association, the PRSA, they're on strike. They actually got locked out by the Professional Referees Organization, PRO, which was formed by the Federation and MLS to basically source referees for all the games that the Federation and MLS play. So they're the overlord, the management operation here, and the PRSA didn't like the offer that was extended to them for the next season, this coming season. So why did they reject it? Well, I think there's this feeling that because of Messi, because of Apple TV, that MLS is swimming in cash and that they want their piece of the pie. But it's the rejection of the way they've treated these referees, the offer that was extended to them and then locking them out, is perhaps indicative of some belt tightening from Apple. Apparently they scaled back on their production of MLS games as well. They're spending less money on that. It's just not clear to me that the Apple TV venture is making a lot of money. We know that Messi's making a lot of money. We know that Inter Miami is making a lot of money, but is Apple making a lot of money? They're very sort of famously closed-mouthed and play very close to the vest, their financial statements. So, I don't want to read too much into it. You can always find referees. I'm sure they'll be perfectly good because I don't think that MLS referees are very good. So the ones they bring in from Jamaica and Brazil and Mexico, I'm sure will be just fine. But I'm just wondering whether or not this is Yeah, a little bit of an insight into how things are really going in the new streaming era.
Yeah, we'll see what happens. Season starts this Wednesday, and the first match, Inter Miami versus Real Salt Lake. So it looks pretty intriguing. We'll see if Miami pulls off a win or Real Salt Lake pulls up an upset. Let's go into the Champions League predictions for this week. Dortmund at PSV. How Dortmund may be a good opponent for PSV due to their European form, but PSV's domestic form may not be. PSV is undefeated in the Eredivisie, but could have finished behind Arsenal in Group B of the Champions League. Dortmund won their group ahead of AC Milan and Paris Saint-Germain. Who do you have for this first leg, Dortmund at PSV?
I'm going with the Dutchman, and I'm going to say it right, and I want you to say it right too, Santi. It's PSV.
PSV. Okay.
PSV. PSV over Dortmund.
Okay. Atletico at Inter Milan, not Miami. Both teams have played well in the Champions League this season, and home advantage is important to the outcome. Inter is in excellent form. They're number one in the Serie A. Hal, keep that in mind. Inters are favorites to win. Who you got? Atletico Simeone at Inter Milan.
I'm gonna take Atleti and Diego Simeone. They're gonna win. They're gonna probably not get much from this first leg in Milan, but I think they'll take it. They're a tougher, more battle-tested group.
And Diego, I think, had a contract extension not too long ago. Arsenal at Porto. Arsenal is in great form, having won 5 games in a row and scored 21 goals in the process. Arsenal's Bukayo Saka and Galeno are both top assist providers in the Champions League this season, with Saka scoring 3 goals and Galeno scoring 4. Arsenal's front 3 are in good form and could make them a strong contender for this year's UCL. Porto has had indifferent 23-24 season so far, having only won one of their last 3 games. Who do you have? Arsenal at Porto.
Well, I'm not going to punk our audience by trying to convince them that Porto has a prayer in this tie. So I'm not going to pick Porto. I'm going to pick Arsenal and play it straight. I'm going to wait till next round to go against Arsenal. So I'm going to keep my powder dry. I hate Arsenal. I'm a Tottenham fan, and
which we'll talk about how they're doing so far.
They are just blowing teams away in the Premiership, 5-6-0. So they're in very good form, and they should dispose of Porto quite easily. Porto, has had its moments in this competition. They turn out an extraordinary amount of talented players there, but I don't think they have a prayer in this matchup.
Napoli at Barcelona. Both big clubs in their respective leagues. Napoli star player Victor Osimhen has returned to training. Napoli's home advantage and the Italian team's ability to take advantage of Barcelona's fragile defense could help them win the first leg. Napoli has a history of not winning major European matches against Barcelona. Napoli's fluctuating Champions League priorities and performances could lead to an unpredictable game. And of course, the last time they met, they ended up Barcelona won 4-2, and this could be an interesting matchup. Might be the closest of all the matches. Who you got?
Everyone's picking Napoli because Barcelona has given up so many goals, but I sort of expect Barcelona to outscore them. So I will pick Barcelona because I don't want my friend Esteban to get mad at me. He's a massive Barca fan. But again, this is just more evidence that this next round of games is just more interesting to me. That's a fascinating matchup. Inter Atleti is very, very evenly matched. Is either of those teams going to win the Champions League? No. But I think that matchup is really quite even, and I can't wait to watch. And of course, PSV Dortmund is great fun. I mean, those are two teams that love to go forward. We got all the Americans on hand, so I'm totally intrigued by this week's matchups as opposed to last week's. Porto, Arsenal, whatever.
Exactly. Before we go, your Tottenham Hotspur with a new coach, Ange Postecoglou. Hal. They are looking good. What are your thoughts over Tottenham's performance this season?
They do look good. They gave away another match to Wolves, their second time this year that they've done that. Hats off to Wolves. They deserve to win. It's an interesting team. They're really entertaining. And they seem to get up and play for the big the big opponents very well. They've again handled Man City as well as anybody in the league has handled Man City, and I can't wait for the match against Arsenal coming up. But look, they're on the fringe of the top four. I think they're back out. Aston Villa, very surprised team there, is battling them for the fourth spot. I think if they could then get a few wins strung together, they finally got a bunch of guys back from injury, a bunch of guys back from the Asian Cup and the AFCON. So, but the problem is now that they do have everybody back, they've looked a little bit sterile. So, I don't know. They're your team. There's not a whole lot to be said about why they are. They just are. So I support them. I hate Arsenal because I support them, and I just can't wait for them to play Arsenal, because I think that's going to be a fabulous, fabulous match. I think it's coming up in April.
Yeah, North London,
the North London Derby.
You can't beat that matchup. Not as strong as Liverpool, Manchester United,
but you have to like either Manchester United or Liverpool to appreciate it, and I don't. So
it's true.
That's why it makes such good teams on. You handle that one.
There you go. Well, there you have it. NBA, Champions League, a lot going on. I love Hal because he could talk to both sports pretty easily. Hal, tell us about your books. I know you have one that you're in the process, but tell us more information and how can people reach you?
Well, my first book is called Generation Zero, and you can find it at the website there on the screen. It is the story of the mainstreaming of soccer in America. And I'm actually just preparing the audiobook now for Amazon. It shall be out there, I guess, within the next couple months. But I'm doing a new book about the U.S.-Mexico rivalry for Roman and Littlefield. That is due in May, but will be published early in 2026, ahead of the World Cup that the U.S. and Mexico will co-host. The conceit is that the working title is Sibling Rivalry. It's about the codependent, sort of fascinating relationship the U.S. has with Mexico over soccer, along with all the cultural, socioeconomic, and geopolitical baggage that goes along with it. I think it's going to be really fun. And, oh, by the way, they are co-hosting this World Cup. So it's going to be a very timely read for all of North America's soccer lovers come 2026.
I can't wait for the World Cup. Before that, we got Copa America, so there's gonna be another good preview for that big tournament. So,
I can't wait for the Copa America. It's gonna be really
be quite something. But check out Hal's books, and we'll definitely leave a link below. And go to thesportscast.net for any information. Also, our X and IG, the Sportscast One. Hal, what is your Twitter handle again?
Oh, it is at Mandarin Hal. Dude, I've been doing more work on Threads these days. You?
Threads is good. I post here and there, like quotes, but that's it. Like I know I have seen more people posting stuff on Threads, but off and on.
I think I'm losing interest in the ethos at X. For reasons that we don't need to explain to anyone. But my at Mandarin Hal is my Twitter handle, and on Threads it's at gen0.halphillips.
Well, as Hal said, NFL's over, but there's two big sports going on right now: NBA and of course some world football going on. So Hal, great to see you back, and this was your update.